Welcome to the Next Dimension Podcast, your portal to an extended reality. Every week we talk about the hottest topics in XR and let you join the discussion live on MRTV. And now, get ready for another exciting episode coming up.
Hi and welcome to episode 9 of the Next Dimension Podcast, your new podcast which is all about VR and AR. And today, finally back, Gary Walkden. How are you doing, Gary?
Hello. Yes, I'm good. Thank you, Sebastian. Thanks for having me back on the show.
Of course.
Excited to talk about some more VR, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, Gary is author of The Memory Engine, an amazing book about virtual reality that everyone absolutely should check out. Also here with us tonight is Steve, VR Flight Sim guy. Steve, how are you doing today?
It's great to be back on the show again, and I really must read that book, actually, Gary. I haven't actually checked it out yet, so yeah, that's on the to-do list.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, yeah, great. It's really a great book. And also with me, Sebastian Ang, founder of MRTV and host of the Next Dimension Podcast. So today, it is the UK has all the power here, 2-1.
Yes,
yeah. Why it's about time. Wow, very, very nice. All right. So, for all of you out there who don't know yet about the Next Dimension Podcast, well, this podcast is being live streamed on MRTV every Saturday at 9 p.m. Berlin time, 8 p.m. London, noon in San Francisco, and 3 p.m. in New York City. And you can also listen to us on all the podcast stations, on iTunes, on Google Podcast, on Alexa. So simply find us there if you want to listen to us. It's also very good, I would say. And of course, what would be really amazing, if you enjoy this podcast and if you want to give us a very long life as a podcast, then absolutely open your podcast app on your iPhone or iPad, find the Next Dimension Podcast, and do leave us a 5-star review and also write something there. So we are on our quest to get 100 reviews, and you could absolutely help us out there. So if you enjoy this podcast, I'm looking at you, Colin there in the chat, please absolutely do leave a positive review. We would be very happy about this. Today, it's a very interesting show without lots of topics. Honestly speaking, it has been a very slow week for virtual reality and for augmented reality, but I'm still happy that we're together here and we're going to have a nice show. There have been a few interesting news about the Quest, for example, about sales numbers. We can also still talk about App Lab and also about the Apple VR headset, because there was a designer who made some really nice designs based on the article that we read about the Apple VR headset. So that's good. And I'm really looking forward to find out what Gary and Steve think about the Apple VR headset, the rumors, because I have not yet talked to both of them concerning the Apple VR headset. Yeah, cool. Before we go into all that content, I would like to know how your weeks were. I would like to start with Gary. Gary, what have you been up to? What have you been playing? What have you been done in all the time that you've not been on the podcast?
Yeah, I've been playing quite a bit of Microsoft Flight Simulator VR, to be honest, which is, it's good to. In fact, I was just talking to Steve before we started the show, and Sebastian couldn't get us to shut up, to be honest. So,
yeah, right.
But no. So I've been playing a little bit of that, but now I got it like on the day it was released, but after playing it for a little while, it was like the performance was just. It was ruining the experience for me. So I always intended to pick it back up again, but I did refund it like a few days after I got it originally. And now, I picked it up again a few weeks ago, and I've just, with this new setting in Steam VR, we're just talking to Steve and Sebastian about it, where you can limit frame rate and allow Steam VR to use the motion smoothing. to give you, a perceptibly smooth experience in the headset, even though your frame rate is actually quite low, 30, 40 frames per second sometimes. As long as it's perceptibly smooth, that's really all that matters. And so I've been messing around with those settings. And yeah, I think it's one of the best VR. I mean, it's difficult because I'm so sort of besotted with it at the moment that I am absolutely loving.
That's it, you're hooked. That's
it. It's funny, Steve, because I've always had this idea that I would love to get into a flight simulator, but I never have. And now wow. I'm starting to see what it's all about really with this game. So it's all I want to play at the moment, but I've not had a lot of time, so I've just sort of been putting in as much time as I can into that game. So I do encourage people to give it a try if you have any inclination to, especially, think of it as the long game. It's not necessarily all there at the moment. And in many ways, it can be, when you first go in, it can be a little bit disappointing, but think of it as the long game. And I think you'll understand that, in weeks, months, even years, perhaps, what an incredible game this is going to be. And it is now, it's enjoyable now, but have that at the back of your mind, how it's going to get even better.
So where are you flying? Like what kind of machine are you flying? What kind of airplane are you flying? What are you doing there?
Well, because of performance as well. So generally I fly the smaller aircraft. Like, I don't know a lot about aircraft, but I know the Cessna. So the Cessna 152, and then there's the Robin as well, which gives you like a huge clear area that you can look out on. So I've been flying that a lot.
One. It has to put on frame rate as well, the Robin, actually, because it's less systems in it. So yeah, it's a really nice aircraft, that.
Yeah, I've been using those smaller aircraft mainly for performance, but just doing short hops really between like the Caribbean islands and then the south coast of England, all over really, just little hops here and there. That's all I've been doing. But yeah, fantastic.
It's so relaxing, Seb. You've got to try it more.
You're right.
Get into it.
Yeah, it's just like for all these games where you need so much time to get into it, I'm kind of afraid, I have so many things to do here for the channel, and
it's less. You don't need a lot of time to get into
really?
it.
Okay.
You can play through these tutorials that they have, which are really basic. It takes you half an hour maybe to get through the tutorials, and you're away. Honestly, it's not a lot of time.
Okay, then I should do it.
Where you have to spend an hour, like I did today, binding buttons because I just reinstalled a few things, and DCS is a nightmare for that. I had to literally, I think it was over an hour just binding buttons and systems and sensors and all that kind of stuff. With Microsoft Flight Simulator, like you say, there's some good tutorials, and if you just fly the Cessna, you can be up flying no problem.
So, but how can I imagine this? So you're in the Cessna. And then how do you start the thing? Will they tell you, okay, now please push the ignition button? Or I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So you basically remove the brake, push forward on the throttle, and you're away. Easy.
Okay.
Easy.
Okay. All right. That sounds doable. Nice. So you're enjoying your time in the Microsoft Flight Simulator. Okay, I need to go in. But I want to ask you something, Gary. Is it a problem for you that you cannot touch the knobs and stuff with the controller? That is one of the things that people like to criticize, right, for this?
Yeah. And I do hear that criticism, and I think it's a little bit different. I think perhaps Steve would have a better perspective on this because he's more of like a flight sim enthusiast and somebody that wants to get into the nitty gritty of flying a plane. I just want to get up there and sort of fly around for a bit, really. But I can understand it because if you really want that experience, you want the act of reaching out and flicking all of these buttons. I can understand that. The thing is, I have a problem with all of these games where you have like a HOTAS setup or something like that, and it's sort of getting to the point where you can use the HOTAS still, because I think that's an important point, but yet having the hand presence in there to do the extra things that you need to do, like a combination of hand tracking, a tracked HOTAS kind of setup would be the ideal, but it doesn't really exist in that way at the moment. So I have this issue because using a HOTAS like in No Man's Sky, as much as I love that game, flying the ship in that game is not a great experience, in my opinion, using the motion controllers, because you've not got any tangible way of moving the HOTAS. So I think this could suffer from that unless you've got a combination of the two, really.
Yeah, spot on. Yeah, absolutely. I guess there's two sides of the coin. A lot of people, like you say, you have hardware yokes and joysticks. So basically, to have another controller as well, you're like trying to balance it on your lap and everything, and it can be a little bit cumbersome. But the other side of it is, I mean, I've done a little bit of real world flying, and just to be able to reach around the cockpit and knowing where things are, that is actually part of the flying sort of experience in terms of like remembering where switches are and stuff. And if you're just using a mouse, it just, for me personally, if you try X-Plane, Gary, in fact, actually there's a demo of X-Plane. You can download it for free, and it gives you like 10 minutes or something. I can't remember, 15 minutes. And it's enough even for you to just sit there and kind of use your controller. And once you've used it and you kind of feel the feedback and you're flipping switches and stuff, it's just like, oh, this is how it should be. It is really, really, a huge part of it. And actually, in a live stream recently, the Microsoft Flight Simulator team, Asobo, they are looking into getting these motion controllers support anyway. So it's only a matter of time.
Okay,
So
that's amazing. I think they would make lots of people happy if they could do this.
Yeah, we've all been moaning at them for quite a lot now. So I think that they are listening. They're great, actually. They take on board whatever our sort of opinions are. And as flight simmers are very fickle. We're very fickle bunch, and we're very passionate about what we like, and they are listening. And it's everything that we want in this sim. It'll get there eventually. It just takes time.
Of course, and I can't wait for the time when the hand tracking is just a standard for all the headsets, right? Not just for the Oculus, but also for the Windows Mixed Reality headsets, and the Apple VR headset for sure is going to have it. And then you simply really do this kind of flicking the switches with your fingers, right? That's going to be amazing. Yeah, cool. Gary, anything more that you did in VR in the last few weeks?
Just worked, and that's the only interesting stuff I've got to talk about. Yeah.
All right, got it. Okay, cool. So who's next, me or Steve? Who should talk about our week? It's you to decide, Gary.
Well, let's go for you, Sebastian, because we'll go in a slightly different order, shall we?
Yeah, okay, I like it. Yeah, so what did I do? Let me check what I uploaded here. So I had a very cool interview actually in virtual reality with the head of business of Spatial. Now, Spatial is an app that allows you to have meetings in virtual reality with other people. So this is more like a business app, but it's amazing. So if you always wanted to see how a virtual meeting can look like, no matter where you are in the world, please check out that interview. It's absolutely fascinating. It feels so real. It feels so good to have these virtual meetings, and it does feel way better than just to be on a Zoom conference or on any other video conference. So that is for sure the way how we're going to collaborate in the future. And actually already now, since everyone can simply pick this up, Spatial is free for the Quest. And if you want to have a super fascinating way to interact, to meet your friends or to meet co-workers, it's just amazing. So check out that interview on my channel. I love to do this interview with Spatial, and definitely the future of collaboration and work. So working, VR and work, it fits together very well, actually. It's cool. So
just on that, Sebastian, quickly as well, because I don't know if we'll get onto this.
We have lots of time. We can talk about every single thing.
I was just thinking, because we've not heard a lot about this Infinite Office with the Oculus Quest.
Oh, yeah, right.
And that's something that crops into my head from time to time as well, because I would love to give that kind of thing a try. And they've been relatively quiet on this for quite a long time now. They announced it, but they've not really said too much else beyond that. But that could be sort of integrated into all of this stuff. I know that Spatial, it's more like sort of meetings, collaboration, kind of stuff. But Infinite Office can play a part in that as well, I think. What are your thoughts on Infinite Office, and how, I guess really, how would you see yourself using it, if at all?
You mean Infinite Office?
Yeah, Infinite Office, yeah.
Okay, so I think in general, first of all, I think that also Facebook, they also see the huge potential in this, right? With what you can do with the Quest, even like having all these virtual screens there, and then being able to work on this as well. You don't have to work there all the time, but if you want to have a huge screen, and probably you're not in the office right now, but you're somewhere else, you just pop it on, and then you have that big screen or whatever. I think it's fantastic. for my personal work, I would have to know exactly what Infinite Office exactly does. I don't actually recall that now. Do you still recall what it actually does?
I mean, my understanding of it, because it runs on its own on the headset, so it's
Right.
basically going to be for limited applications, I would imagine, sort of word processing, spreadsheets, and things
Okay.
like that. I would imagine that kind of stuff. You know, you could do video conferencing, but on sort of a flat screen. Maybe they can incorporate it in some kind of actual virtual reality conferencing kind of application as well. But the interesting thing, like to me, is how, because you can do sort of approximations of this already. I forget I'm blanking on the name of the app that's already out there that is trying to do this kind of stuff. But the fact is that because when you're closed off from the world and you can't see your keyboard and
Right.
you can't see your mouse, it's an issue. But Infinite Office promises this thing where it will sort of work with a calibrated keyboard, a specific keyboard.
Yes, Gary.
And
Exactly.
it gives you the tracked options, and that's what I think is one of the most interesting things and the most valuable things with it as well.
You're right. You're right. That is, of course, amazing. And I totally can remember the other app too, but also don't remember the name, where you can already do that, where you can already calibrate your existing keyboard and use it in VR. I think that's an amazing idea. And simply the fact that you can have like multiple virtual screens open, I think that's fantastic. And that's a functionality that I could see myself using. So it has just so much potential. And I'm glad that Facebook is also seeing that. Yeah, I can just say Facebook is just a very smart company. They know
Yeah.
exactly. They know, and they are like so dominating our favorite industry right now. It's unbelievable. Yeah. Anyway, so Spatial is a very cool app that if you want to try out a virtual meeting, check it out. It's free on the Quest store. You don't even have to have a VR headset. If you don't have a VR headset, your friends or your coworkers can join via webcam or even on their mobile phone. Yeah, so they made it like really, really nice. Super, totally enjoyed that. Yep. Then I checked out the Mammoth Grips 3. These are some controller grips for the Quest 2 and also for the Reverb G2, actually. So let me show you that here. And the nice thing is they are also compatible with the Apto gun stock. So then you can mount magnets here to them, and then yeah, it's cool.
That's kind of cool.
It's really great if you are into shooters, and if you have this Apto gun stock from Mammoth, then those grips are just amazing. And it's great to have all these kind of accessories, right? It's great. Right. So that is what I did. Then I played on my German channel. I played a horror game. I very, very seldomly play horror games, but this one, it was free and it looked so beautiful. So I thought, like, okay, I give it a try. It's called Propagation VR, and it's free. It's like a 30 minutes or so. It looks super beautiful, and honestly speaking, I had a fun time in it, even though I was scared and I was like screaming like crazy because I'm not into these games, right? But actually, it was kind of fun, and they have like huge spiders coming at you. It's
Oh my god, I hate spiders.
yeah,
I'm
me
not
too,
sure
me
I'll try
too.
it, actually.
Yeah, but it's not so bad. It's not so bad, and the graphics are kind of nice. Yeah, so that's what I did. And other than that, yeah, I did some news shows as well. Oh yeah, I did a show where I talked about the 5 things that I want for the Reverb G3. Right? Like thinking about like what do I want from the Reverb G3, and for sure I want to have a better launch, right? The launch of the G2 was terrible with that long kind of period where people could pre-order it and it never came, and terrible. But other than that, the main thing that I would want to have is like a bigger FOV, and I would like to have wireless. That would be fantastic. Yep, let's see. I really hope that they are working on the Reverb G3. Steve, what do you think? Are they working on it right now? Is it going to happen?
Of course they are. Yeah, of course it's
Yeah?
going to happen. Definitely. I just
Okay.
hope not yet, because people
No,
are only
not
just
yet, no.
receiving them now.
You're right. No,
And
not
they're
no.
only literally. I think it's like, was it yesterday or I think or sometime around now that they're only just getting into stock again.
Yeah, right.
It's been such a long period of time where people are desperate to to buy, this G2, and I just think, maybe use this time and just learn from this sort of launch, which was a bit of a disaster to say the least. I thought the G1 was bad enough, but this was unfortunate, really. And someone needs firing there, I think, to be honest. But I think, I do feel that the G3, when it finally does appear, I think they'll do this right this time. I just got a feeling they're going to learn from everything that's happened.
Oh man, you know what, Steve?
I'm trying to be optimistic.
That's what I hope for the G2, because the G1 launch was so bad, So I thought, okay, G2 launch, they're going to make it happen. But now the learning is like so huge. I don't know, I hope they can make it happen for the G3. I wonder
what the sales were like for the G2.
I think
as
good.
Well, because
I think they wasn't expecting for it to be so successful straight away. The pre-orders, they were just overwhelmed by it, really.
I think it was. I mean, my impression is from the outside, it seems to be that it was far more successful than the original, of course. I mean, that was a bit of a mess anyway, to be honest. The original one, as much as people wanted to get hold of it, they couldn't get a hold of it, and even when they did, there seemed to be some problems, at least with the initial batch and stuff. But the G2 seems to be far more positive, and you hear a lot of people talking about the G2 far more as well.
Yeah, that's right.
I just wonder, like, for a company like HP, they've got to look at these sales and then look at, I suppose, to justify the R&D and the development of a further product, and hopefully they see it going in the right direction.
Right. I agree. So I think lots of people bought it. However, I also think they have lots of returns. People sending it back because it didn't work for them, right? Like lots of people, they couldn't make it run on their systems for the X570 main board issues. And then the cable is a bit loose, and then the picture will go black. So they had so many problems, and I do believe they did have quite a lot of people who simply sent it back. But overall, I believe they had great sales, and I think this could make them want to make a G3. However, the question is just, how can they at all compete against the Quest 2 and the Quest 3? Because everything is shifting towards that Quest platform. Sorry, Steve, to let you know, PC VR is going down. No, honestly, man, whenever now I do the news and I check out the news, now it's like, okay, the game is coming out for Quest, and probably they're also doing a PC VR version. Before it was always like, okay, it comes out for PC VR, for Steam VR, and there might be a Quest version. Now it's totally the other way around. Now, yes, for sure, there's a Quest version, and then, okay, we're also doing a PC VR version. That's what you hear. But in general, no.
I do feel, though, that there is a huge simming community out there.
Yeah.
Even if you sort of just, just park the gaming aspect. I think probably it'd be interesting to see the sales figures if we did like a survey, of how many people who bought the Revo G2 are actually race simmers or flight simmers. I think you'd be quite surprised at how many sales just account for that, genre.
There's plenty of companies as well that survive on providing like a niche for like the simming community, as well as doing other stuff like HP. So they can focus on whatever else that they do, and also produce this for the niche consumers if they see it worthwhile for themselves, which obviously, I think at this stage they seem to do that. I don't think they're going to take over that and be like the leading headset or anything like that, but they can certainly survive in a certain niche market as well.
Agreed. Also, if you see that the Valve Index is also selling out every single time they have stock. So people still want to have PC VR headsets.
They do. They
want
to have that premium AAA experience. They want to put that VR headset on and know that what they're experiencing is pushing the boundaries of what we can do right now. I feel that there's enough people out there that want that to happen still.
Okay.
It's just a case of, like you say, whether with the Quest 2, which I love and hate at the same time.
The same feeling. So Steve, what do you think? How many pieces of G2 have been sold by HP? Do you have any idea of what do you think?
Oh, God, yeah, that's a hard question. I wouldn't like to even guess, really, but I would imagine that in terms of sales of the G1, I bet this is at least 50% higher.
Okay.
than the
At least, yeah,
I
I'd
think
say
at
at least, yeah.
I think so too.
I'm being conservative there, but
Yeah.
it's hard to say really for definite. But
Okay.
they nailed it in so many areas, and then fell down on the simple basics of just the
Right.
pre-order phase, and the pre-order was far too long. We don't want pre-orders that long really. We just want the headset in our hands and for it to be a seamless process, because it leaves a bad taste in people's mouths, and it's a great shame because the headset, if you just look at it and sort of just base it on its own merits, it's exceptional. It really is, and there's nothing out there even now that has that resolution for that price point, and has the whole package, the audio, the comfort. It is still a fantastic headset,
Right.
and
By the way, this podcast is in no way sponsored by HP.
not at all. No,
No, it's not, because I can't get hold of one.
yeah, exactly. Gary.
no one can.
Oh my goodness. Dear HP team. Yeah, right. So if you're watching this, Gary doesn't have it yet. Anthony doesn't have it yet. Tatiana doesn't have it yet. So what's the matter here, dear HP team? You must be watching this podcast. Come on.
I went out to the website the other day, and in
You want to
the
buy it now?
US
You want to buy it now, or?
Well, I was looking. I don't know. Look, Sebastian, don't put me on the spot.
You want to buy it? I can feel it here. Gary wants to buy it.
No, I went on the US. In the US, I could get it in the US, and I don't know if they'd ship it over or something like that. But on the UK HP site, it's still saying, notify me when it comes back in stock.
What?
So,
Okay.
yeah, I just can't
Wow.
get hold of it.
So my estimation is they must have sold around at least probably 150,000 units, I think. Would you think something like this is reasonable?
That sounds reasonable. Yeah, I'll probably go for that estimate as well.
Right.
It's very difficult to even guess at these kinds of things, isn't it? Really,
It's very hard to guess. It's very hard to guess. My goodness. But if every single one of them would subscribe to MRTV, well, I would have 150,000 subscribers. So probably we have less. I don't know. I have no idea.
The lockdown situation in the UK is starting to, it's going to improve soon. And honestly, Gary, as soon as that's sorted, I'm more than happy. You can I'll lend you the reverb for a weekend, and just so you.
That would be great, right?
Yeah, I would love that. Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, thanks, Steve. I mean, to be honest, it's mainly Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Wow.
You probably won't want to give me it back actually if you try it. That's it. In fact, someone said in the comments that the Reverb G2 and Microsoft Flight Simulator is just absolutely beautiful, and they're so right. Them two together, it's just incredible. It really is.
Yeah. See, like Elite Dangerous is another, it's one of my favourite VR games as well, and I think it'd be great in that game.
It is, yeah, it's fantastic. Elite Dangerous.
Also, I don't know, do either of you guys play races at all ever? Like
Project Cars.
Project Cars sometimes, yes, but not like seriously.
No, I don't.
I'm rubbish at it.
Yeah, me too. But I would love to. That's another one that I would love to try it in. It's not really. I know
it
some
looks
people
great.
complain about the tracking issues on the controllers and stuff like that, but really that doesn't interest me anyway. And I'm sure I know I've spoke to you guys before, and you say it's not as bad as all that anyway. But the types of games that I want to play with that headset are the simulations and that kind of stuff anyway. So
that's what it's made for. Really,
it looks so good.
But I mean, I have played Half-Life Alyx and Medal of Honor from start to finish in it, and I never had any problems with tracking. I think for 90% of the time, if you're, or maybe that's a little bit generous, 80% of the time, when you're staring down the sights of sniper rifles and things, I've literally got gameplay on my channel, and I know you have said of me doing this,
Yeah, of course, it works.
And the controllers are behaving fine.
Right.
So it's not as bad as what people make out, but you do have to have your room set up properly, and maybe that in itself is a limitation, really.
But really, for those simulation games, it looks so beautiful, and I still have that feeling like, wow, it looks so beautiful.
Yeah, every time
when I'm in the headset, it's crazy. Steve, have you actually done the mod, the Frankenfoff mod, to get it closer to your eyes, to get a bit more FOV and stuff?
No.
Oh, you haven't done that yet?
No, but I've got VR covers are actually going to send me some of their brand new face padding. Face pads rather, that they're going to go on sale soon, so I'm going to check them out, which I'm really excited about.
Steve, that was still under embargo. You should not have said that.
Sorry,
it's a secret that they come out with those.
Well,
live show. You guys, you have not heard about that yet.
Exclusive.
I think it's
exclusive on MRTV has just been revealed that VR cover is going to have face gaskets
Oh,
for
no,
the
no.
Reverb G2. Yeah,
We'll
it's a
make
live
it,
show.
we'll make it.
Steve, no problem. No problem. Very
I
funny.
haven't tried that mod yet. No, I mean for me personally, like I don't know. I'm so used to the Oculus style headsets. I haven't tried a Pimax, so I don't know what that wide field of view is like. So I'm not, or even the Index, which is obviously so much better. So I don't really know what it's like because I've never had that before. But you know, for field of view wise, I don't really see it as a massive problem for me. Really.
But I think probably you would enjoy that wide FOV of
Oh,
some
sure.
of the right.
G3.
Yeah, I can definitely also put you in touch with the Pimax people. I think the Pimax would be very interested in letting you try it out.
I would love to try
Yeah,
it out.
okay. Let me get you in touch with them.
I always remember Steve telling me as well, because I did try the Pimax. Somebody, Whitway Studios, actually, when I was on VR Roundtable, they loaned me a Pimax to try out for a while. And I always remember Steve telling me, Steve from VR Roundtable, sorry, not you, Steve, big confusion. Yeah, Steve from VR Roundtable, he always said that sometimes you don't notice the wide field of view until you go back, and that's true.
That's the point.
It really hits you.
That is the point.
Wow.
Yeah, it really does. Like, because I remember getting the Pimax, and I thought you could tell instantly it's a wider field of view. But then going back to my Oculus CV1, it was like looking through a tunnel, really. And it was a different kind of experience. But yeah, I mean, I've tried the Pimax. I'm not as enthusiastic about the Pimax as some other people, but only for, I think it's probably improved since I tried it anyway, to be honest.
Yeah, it has.
That distortion on the edges. That
it is still there. So, but
yeah.
the good thing is you can actually change the field of view to not so super huge one, and then it's fine. So then those distortions, you will cut them, and you will still have a bigger FOV than for most of the rest. So yeah, they have improved. They also have improved their software. They have improved lots of things. Also, their head strap is now better. So yeah, actually they're getting much better. So hopefully you can try one out sometime soon. Probably you would like it a lot. Now you have this 3090 PC right there, that monster. It's just waiting. It's just waiting for the Pimax to happen.
It's been actually really interesting because I've got my old computer as well as the new one at the moment. So I've just been doing a few back-to-back tests, and even in Sims, which are notoriously rubbish for utilizing all your cores and hardware, it's made a huge difference with the performance, especially with the G2. I can run it at 100% resolution now, which is the first time I've ever been able to do that. So, but I don't know about is it the 8KX? Is that 8K? I just don't know how would that run. Even with an RTX 3090, I think you'd be struggling.
But it should be okay. So probably you don't need the full resolution always. Yeah. Hopefully you can try it out sometime. Right. Okay. So, what else did I do in my week? We're still not finished. Yeah, I was so cold here in Germany with lots of snow. So, actually, I did went out a bit into the park with my wife. Yeah, my wife comes from Taiwan. They don't have snow there, so it was nice to play a bit with the snow. And did a video there as well. My wife, she's also actually a YouTuber, way more successful as compared to me, by the way. Yeah, she makes a video about playing in the snow. Boom, 50,000 views first day. Wow. Oh, all right. And I'm like, okay, I'm making these videos about these hardware things. It takes so much time. It's very complicated. Yeah, 500 views. So check out my wife's channel, Eliza Ang, and you will see me playing in the snow. It's amazing and very, very, very nice videos. All right, yeah, that's what I did. And how about you, Steve? What did you do? How was your week?
Yeah, it was. I suppose quite a variety in terms of VR. I actually used the Quest 2 quite a bit because obviously with the whole lockdown situation, and my friend's got a CV1, Oculus CV1, so we both downloaded a mini golf game called I think Walkabout Mini Golf. It's only like £10 or something on the Oculus Store, and it's obviously cross-platform as well. And I had such a laugh in that, actually. Just really having a good laugh, and so yeah, really enjoying that. And just again, I do love the Quest as well as hate it, but it is a fantastic headset, and just be able to just play golf and spin around and not worry about wires and stuff. It was great, and then even meeting your friend and playing together,
absolutely. Right? That's amazing. Totally. The social thing is just, I love it.
It is. It's great, and it must admit, it was just so nice to be able to, because we're not allowed to go anywhere at the moment, but you're able to put this VR headset on, and there's your friend in VR, and you're kind of having a laugh and stuff, and it's just, yeah, it really cheers you up, really, I suppose. And so I really enjoyed doing that with the Quest 2. And I play more Saints and Sinners as well. I'm going through that again, it's got the trial now that's just come out on Quest 2, which is very cool. I'm not very good at it, but I certainly give it a good try. But apart from that, actually, I have been using Microsoft Flight Simulator again, like Gary said, and I'll just tell you one flight I've been doing. I'm doing a around the world series, going right around the world, and at the moment I'm flying around Alaska, and I was and actually Microsoft Flight Simulator, it simulates different wildlife, so you can see giraffes and elephants, and in this case, flying around Alaska, I was looking down, I could see some grizzly bears, like literally on this sort of hillside. So I actually landed right next to them and kind of sat right next to these bears, and they were coming right at me, and it was just amazing to see it in VR. Yeah.
You can do that. You can just land anywhere and then see some.
Of course.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I've got a video on the channel of me. Actually, I landed and didn't do a very good job. Even, it was me, a supposed hardcore simmer. I crashed because I completely messed up the landing. But you get like this little drone, and I was droning around in VR, and I sat it on this hillside, and I was just watching these bears. It sounds crazy because it's a flight sim, right? But it's more like a world simulator, and it's just fantastic. So yeah, just been really enjoying doing that, really, mainly, I suppose, and a little bit of Quest 2 action, of course, as well. But yeah, and just obviously just trying out this new system of mine that now that I've got this Stormforce PC. And if anyone's actually a bit of a cheeky sort of advertisement here, but Stormforce actually, because I bought this computer with my own money, I didn't even contact them or anything like that, and they were so thrilled about sort of my experiences. They actually emailed me and said that they're looking into getting discounts for anyone who's interested in buying a new computer from them. So stay tuned for that, because if you are looking to get a really beefy computer, or even sort of a mid-range spec system, you might be able to get to £100-200 off a brand new computer, which that could buy you nearly a Quest 2 as well, couldn't it? Really? So
that is really a good deal. So for all of the people who are in the UK, you must absolutely subscribe to VR Flight Sim Guy to get all those deals, to get you a free Quest 2.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Maybe not, yeah.
Yeah, you can find the link to Steve's channel down in the description of this video. Cool.
Yeah, so it's been a pretty cool week, really. Yeah.
Very good. Very nice. Very good. Okay, so then we can dive into our content, into the topics there.
What are we talking about? No.
Yeah, not so many things were happening. However, there's some interesting stuff going on, and yeah, we'll just stick to the Quest 2. So let's check this out here on Road to VR. So Facebook Reality Labs VP hints that the Quest 2 will be updated with 120 Hz refresh rate. Wow, that is definitely interesting. So Andrew Bosworth was doing a Q&A session on Instagram, and people were asking him, is there going to be a 120 Hz mode? And he gave it a thumbs up. Very nice. So it means that most probably after the 90 Hz mode, the 90 Hz support that we have now on the Quest 2, there is most probably going to be 120 Hz support. And here in the Road to VR article, they say it would be most probably will make it optional for developers to choose between 72 Hz, 90 Hz, and 120 Hz. Makes sense, right? Because, well, 120 Hz, 120 frames per second, that is quite a lot. It totally depends on what your game is like, how beautiful it is and stuff, right? If you can really make 120 frames per second, so they should probably be able to choose it. Anyways, it's cool that the device actually would be able to do that, right? So the Quest 2 is getting better and better, right? Gary,
it's funny.
What do you think?
Go on.
I think it's good with this particular news story. Okay, the fact is that this is good for developers in terms of having options. And while this looks like a single option, like so you've got the 72 hertz, then you've got the 90 hertz, and now you've got a possible 120 hertz coming in the future, that doesn't necessarily mean that developers have to only have the 120 frames per second to match that. They could then, as an option, if Oculus allow them to do this, just have the 60 frames per second interpolated to the 120 hertz. This is actually a better way of incorporating more applications, even more demanding applications, because the hard work isn't necessarily on the headset itself, it's on the refresh rate and the background, the ASW and that kind of stuff, in order to project it to that 120 hertz. Of course, if programs can load demand enough that they can run at a native 120 hertz, then that would be fantastic. But I think I see this as an extra option for developers.
You're right.
I think if you could get more intensive graphics running at 60 hertz and have just this 120 hertz interpolated, because that's what a lot of things do, and it's really why Oculus lowered the specs down for the original CV1, because originally it was a 970 that you needed back in 2016. Then they lowered it down once they'd increased the technology of ASW. Then it went down to a 960 because they said that you can use this ASW as a better safety net and you don't need such a demanding system. So this 120 hertz, if programs can get to that natively, fantastic. If not, it's another option.
You're so right. I never actually thought of it, that actually you just do this kind of reprojection at 60 frames per second and you have it interpolated to 120, and then suddenly everything looks super smooth, right?
Yeah.
While still having like beautiful visuals, since you only need to do 60 frames. It's so smart.
It's what PSVR did. The PSVR, most of their titles were running at 60 frames per second, interpolated to 120 hertz, because the system couldn't match it, yet the headset was capable of 120 hertz. So I hope that they do this, because it would be great to get better graphics, running at a perceptibly smooth 120 hertz. Fantastic.
Yeah, you're right.
It's funny, Gary, you've actually changed my opinion. I had a different opinion, but now I've changed it now. You said that.
Wow.
Yeah,
Amazing. Amazing show.
I was just thinking that, because obviously when the Valve Index can handle, is it 120 hertz as well?
It can, yeah, it can.
Yeah.
And I always thought that's completely pointless for PC-based VR headsets, because we're never going to get native 120 frames per second, unless, depending on obviously what you're running, but a pretty high fidelity game, you'd be lucky to be running half that, really. And so I thought, well, perhaps the Quest 2, does that mean developers are going to be chasing this native 120 frames per second to the point where they're going to, it's going to affect the fidelity of the visuals? That's the only thing I was worried about. But I didn't really think about the sort of, obviously, the ASW technique, that even if it is halved to 60 frames per second, with that'll actually be really nice and smooth, actually.
If they allow
frame, yeah.
You're
if
right.
they allow it, that's the only thing. I mean, I'm just sort of guessing, really, that they would allow that to happen, but who knows?
But it makes sense. And I must also say, Gary, you have also changed my mind because I actually want to say, like, okay, for me personally, I don't see a big difference between 90 hertz and 120 hertz. So yes, I can tell the difference between 72 hertz and 90 or 120 hertz. But from 90 to 120, I don't quite see the difference. However, if it's just for letting applications run at 60 and then interpolating up to 120, wow, makes so much sense. Can you see the difference between 90 and 120 hertz?
It's difficult. There's certain things, like, so I've mentioned this probably to other people, where like there's certain applications. So for example, Space Pirate Trainer. I always remember going to Space Pirate Trainer when I first got my Index and running that at 144 hertz native. That was I could tell the difference. I could tell the difference there. If you were to give me an A and B comparison, which you can do in the Index as well, between 90 and 120. I think I can see the difference, but it's not enough to worry about, honestly, for most titles. But if you go from 90 up to that 144 hertz and it's absolutely smooth, there's no reprojection at all, then I think that is a valuable, like Job Simulator, Space Pirate Trainer, these kinds of games can run at native 144 hertz in the Valve Index on, a modestly spec'd PC, like a 1080 Ti. I think I know Space Pirate Trainer can. I'm pretty sure Job Simulator can as well. So it's not the be all and end all, but I think it does add an extra layer on there of immersion.
I'm kind of imagining
right.
that refresh rate would be really useful for sort of real, games. I don't know, like playing tennis or something, or like
Table
Right.
tennis.
Table
Yes.
tennis.
Oh,
People
right,
like
yeah.
to play table tennis with these high
Yeah.
frequencies. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
of that movement, and sort of, I'd imagine it would be a lot smoother.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I'm just kind of
It
guessing.
is. It is
Yeah.
really. It does make a difference. I have the Pimax 5K Super here with 180 hertz, and actually,
That's crazy.
I can use it with my 3080 playing like 11 table tennis at 180 hertz.
Does it really hit 180?
It
That's
really
incredible.
hurts.
Wow.
It really hits, not hurts.
really
It really hits 180 frames per second, and it's like very smooth. Absolutely, it's
Wow.
fantastic. It's really fantastic. So that one absolutely it works. So yeah, higher hertz is better, and also for people not feeling as sick as easily. That's what I also heard. That if you play at 60 frames per second or not very high frequencies, people tend to get sick more easily as compared to playing at 120 hertz or 144 hertz. So, yeah, the Quest 2 is getting better.
I just find it
it's
incredible,
crazy.
isn't it? How it's the very cheap headset, and it's doing all these things first in a lot of ways. Finger tracking, bringing it
Yeah.
sort of to the mainstream, as well as all these different refresh rates. It can go down to 72 hertz, and now it's crazy, isn't it? It's amazing, really, value for money. I've got to say. Oh, what am I saying? I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's just, but I totally get it.
It's true though.
The thing is, if it wasn't for that forced Facebook login, I would be totally hyping this device because it's amazing, right? But because of the Facebook forced login, I simply can't do it.
I think as well. It's not like with the Quest 2. It's difficult because I understand where you're coming from, Sebastian. It's not like a black and white situation with this. You can
Right.
understand as a tech enthusiast. You can understand what they're doing, the low price they're doing it for, getting VR
Right.
into the hands of all these people. It comes at a cost, as you've mentioned. It comes at a cost, and people have to make a decision based on that, really. But yeah, it's sometimes difficult. I don't begrudge Facebook trying to push this in some ways, as long as they're not being as nefarious as sometimes it can appear that they are. That's the only thing, because when you look at how their business is run and the underlying method of how their business is run, that's what makes people concerned. And I hope they can prove everybody wrong.
Absolutely. I hope so too. I really hope so too, that actually what Bosworth said, that they want to become like the big champion of privacy. Very funny to say that as somebody working for Facebook. But I would root for them if they really make that change, if they really put their actions where their mouth is. Wow, I would totally love it. So I'm also keeping an open mind to that. And I'm not just, okay, Facebook is evil and I totally hate whatever they do. No, I really absolutely have an open mind. And if they prove that they are not evil, with our data, then for sure it's going to be fine. However, I will still, on my channel, will definitely let people know about the problems that I see here.
Yeah,
you don't see that
sure,
on many other channels. Yeah.
I just feel like Oculus and Pimax, they're about you can sense, or used to anyway, with Oculus, the enthusiasm and the passion for VR, wanting to really sort of like bring something that really pushes the boundaries. In Facebook's land, it's the other way around, isn't it? It's obviously business first. Of course it is for any company really, but I do feel they are a little bit aggressive, and just this announcement of the Quest 3 to me worries me, because they didn't need to say anything about. They could have just said the Quest 2 is looking to be the most mainstream headset. It's on track. The end of it. They didn't need to mention anything about the Quest 3, and I just feel like, I hope this is not the start of what we said the other week about this sort of iPhone kind of business model of bring incremental updates. They probably have something so much more incredible to give to the community, but if they're looking at their sales figures and think, well, actually, we'll just give them this with a little bit of better, a better face pad or whatever, or just some of the comfort mods, we'll have that for £300 instead. People jump upon that, and that's what I worry really about it.
But honestly speaking, like, we are all living in the West, right? In Western countries, and $299 is really not so expensive for our favorite hobby, right? If they can really give us these incremental things that are really better, and at the moment they can do that, come on, I think it's fine. I would take a Quest every year if it's really giving me something better. Since I'm an enthusiast, and Steve,
Hey,
you're
yeah.
going to buy it too.
The only way I'd buy a Quest 3 is if it's got a dedicated display port as a sort of option, to go into your PC as well. That would be
we're
amazing.
going to talk about that
Yeah.
next year. You're going
Yeah,
to.
I hope so.
I have the feeling you're going to buy one, even if it doesn't come with that.
Okay, I'll
I have that
bet
feeling.
£10 on it.
Oh yeah, I totally bet with you as well. Yeah, okay, my €10 for your £10.
Heard it here first. There we go.
Yeah, okay, good. Right. Yeah, okay, cool. So 120 hertz refresh rate seems to be a very cool update if it comes. And why wouldn't it come if Bosworth says thumbs up? Next story that we're going to talk about also has to do with the Quest 2. And the Rec Room studio, Rec Room, we know the social app that's also on the Quest. The studio estimates Facebook sold 2 to 3 million Oculus Quest headsets in the fourth quarter of last year. And they can estimate that based on the usage of Rec Room, right? Because they know how many different people play their game using a Quest 2. So this makes for a very interesting kind of number here because, well, we don't get numbers from Oculus themselves, but Rec Room says they probably sold 2 to 3 million Quest 2s. Wow, that's a pretty amazing number, right? If you think that PSVR, we also got some estimates that they probably sold like something around 5 million units. So if the Oculus Quest 2 sold 2 to 3 million only in the fourth quarter, that is kind of mind-blowing, isn't it?
That is amazing. Yeah, it's on track for being if it's not already the mainstream headset, really the first one to break that sort of. What did Anthony say? Is it 10 million or something, or in 1 year or something? I can't remember what it was now, but it's got to be getting close.
I think because they threw around this figure a few like Oculus Connects ago, where they said that an ecosystem gets self-sustaining once it gets to like 10 million users, because then the developers know they're going to earn enough from developing for the platform and that kind of stuff. With this, I was just looking. So in this article, it says that they are estimating it as being a 40% attach rate for Rec Room per Quest. To me. Okay, so with that 40% attach rate, taking that as their estimate, then it looks to be around 2 to 3 million
exactly.
Units. That seems like a low attach rate, slightly lower attach rate for Rec Room than I would expect personally. But I'm just thinking about this as a new user to Oculus Quest 2 coming in. They will probably purchase a few titles, then go through a lot of the free apps. And because Rec Room is sort of semi-recognizable, at least, I think a lot of people will at least download Rec Room.
You're right.
And that 40% might be lower. So it might the actual figure might not be quite as high as 2 to 3 million, maybe slightly lower than that. But even so, it's an impressive number, isn't it, for that period?
It's incredible. It's really incredible. I mean, a quarter is just 3 months. And, well, they could probably sell more if it wasn't like sold out in lots of places where you actually can't buy it. So that is crazy. And we have just estimated that perhaps the G2 sold 100,000 or 150,000. That's only an estimate, right? We don't know. But I believe that this could make sense if you also hear what other developers say. That they say, okay, thanks to the Quest 2, we made 10 times more profit than before the Quest 2. So from most of the developers that somehow talk about how much they earned, it was always about once the Quest was out, and now with the Quest 2, they sold so much more. And also we heard like, okay, if we're not on the Quest, if you can make it into the Quest store, wow, they have a big problem, right? Because that's where the money is. Every single developer needs to be on Quest. So if I would make a new game, I would for sure make it for the Quest first, and then also think about to also publish it on PCVR. But honestly, the PCVR platform, it's not so many things going on, Steve.
But it will never die. It certainly wouldn't, and I think. Yeah, I'm going to leave it there.
I think the point as well is developers know that if they get onto the Quest 2, if they're allowed onto the Quest 2, it's pretty much a guaranteed. You've made it pretty much,
Right.
because there's not a huge. There's a lot of titles, but there's not a huge amount of titles that released every week. You know, you go
Right.
on, you can go on for 2 weeks and there's nothing been released, and then you go on again, and then there's probably 2 or 3 titles. So I think all the attention is on you. If you get on the Quest store, store, then you pretty much made it in terms of like securing funding for perhaps your next project at least.
I think
just
so
think
too.
like the Quest 2, I think this year is going to be the big year for the answer, whether it's going to be that huge mainstream headset, because at the moment I imagine a few people have said this in the comments as well, it's obviously due to the pandemic, it's obviously due to the situation that the world is facing right now, that the Quest 2 has just hit that that point perfectly, because I guess people will be saving up for holidays that they wasn't able to go on and things like that, so they've got this maybe a bit of spare cash, and obviously VR is just the most incredible way to escape the realities of what we're all facing at the moment. So I just feel it's the longevity that I'm going to be interested in. Are people going to put the headset down once lockdown finishes? Is there going to be enough games to support it moving forward? I know we've got some big titles coming, but how long is it going to take before? Because even for me, when I bought my Quest and I had a look on the store, I was a little bit disappointed. There isn't any real kind of proper sort of games that excited me that much. Apart, I've just tried a few of the demos and things like that. Apart from Saints and Sinners, really, I haven't bought anything else yet for the Quest 2. I just hope there's going to be a point where we're going to get these big, and it is coming. It's just a case of hopefully they need to continue that momentum. That's my concern.
But I agree with you. We still lack this kind of meaty games, like Half-Life Alyx. These games where you can put like
need another one of
10 hours into it, and it would be great if something like this came to Quest 2. And I still believe that Lone Echo 2 is going to be that game that will make so many people buy the Quest 2. I still believe it wouldn't make sense to launch that game on the Rift platform, since they're not even selling that anymore. What do you think, Gary? Will the Lone Echo 2 come out for Quest 2 only, like Quest 2, and not even run on Quest 1, because they are simply making it for Quest 2? That is my big guess, by the way.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll go that far with it.
Okay.
But then again, I mean, look, if they simply can't get it to run on the Quest 1, then why not just put it on the Quest 2? Because by all accounts, they've sold millions of Quest 2s anyway. You know, when I look at these numbers as well, even as an estimate, like 2 to 3 million, it's rivaling what PlayStation have done. What did they announce? 4.5 million
something like
PlayStation
this.
5s. And I know that there's supply limitations of PlayStation, and a little bit of Quest 2 supply limitation perhaps, but not quite to the level of PlayStation 5. But the issue is that you can now rank this alongside sort of a console launch in that quarter. It's
crazy.
madness.
It's crazy.
It's fantastic, really.
It is fantastic, yes.
If you take away the Facebook thing and the whole login and for me, the standalone thing and the PC versus standalone, actually, if you just think about it as the VR community, and this headset is just completely stormed into the first lead, and it might be, again, it's a double-edged sword, but I think it's still going to be great for VR one way or another, isn't it, really, in terms of sort of... there's so many people, even friends that have tried the Quest 2 now that wouldn't even imagine having a VR headset. They're more of a console gamer, like you said, Gary, and it's incredible to think that we're now talking on almost on the same level there. It's very exciting. Whichever way you look at it, it's fantastic.
It is exciting. It is exciting, and as much as I scold Facebook for doing all these things that I don't like, I still think it does bring something to the VR market, because for developers now actually it makes sense to do a VR title, because now with these numbers, if they get into the Oculus Quest store, they kind of have made it. If they manage to make a half good game, it doesn't even have to be like super great, but if it's good enough, they will just like Gary said, like, they will make enough money to sustain themselves or even to have a nice profit. And since there are not so many games right now, whenever there's a new game in the Quest store, like all the community, all these millions of people will be super happy to check it out, right? All the YouTubers, they will directly play it no matter what it is, because there's not so many games to try out, right? So yeah, it makes sense. It's good. So
it does.
Yeah.
When you think about it from that point of view, actually, you just made me think, Sebastian, as well. Like the YouTubers out there that are covering new releases, when they know they've got 2 to 3 or presumably like 2 to 3 million people that have Quest 2s,
Right.
they'd be crazy to ignore any kind of Quest content.
Totally.
You need to put Quest content out there and cover every single Quest title that's being released, which is perfectly manageable because there's not that many being released on a weekly basis.
All right, now I feel bad because I totally didn't do that. but you're right. No, you're right, Gary. I should totally start to play every single game. No, but you're absolutely right, and I'm also going to do that. I think because this, it's good.
But for me, though, like I said, I guess I'm just harping back to what I said before. But a lot of Quest 2 games coming out, just for me, are a little bit. I don't know how to say this really. It's a little bit strong, but a bit childish for me. A little bit kind of cartoony. A little bit kind of. I want something really truly immersive, and I know that XR2 chipset can handle it. I know it can. It surprised me how powerful that processor is, and like I do feel there's a lot that we haven't seen yet. So I am excited for this year for what hopefully some developers can make use of that.
Do you hear about like Oculus? Because during the early days of like the CV1 and stuff like that, they put a lot of money into developers, big AAA, well, say AA developers in some cases, where they were funding titles. And I'm not hearing too much about that for the Quest 2 or Quest and Quest 2 platform specifically. But to me, it seems like Oculus must be funding some kind of behind-the-scenes development for these platforms, because what everybody wants, the thing that's missing from the store is these deeper titles, whether they're graphically intensive or not. I think it just needs sort of longer titles, deeper titles, and perhaps they were trying to go for that with that Jurassic World Aftermath, but it just didn't. For me, that didn't hit the mark at all.
No, it didn't hit. Didn't hit it. Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully, we'll get something. Again, my big guess is Lone Echo 2 is going to be a Quest 2 title. Yeah. Hopefully,
have they been working on that for such a long time?
Yeah, it should be coming out this year. Come on.
I can see that the first part of that development process would have been for the Rift, and I don't know how much of that would need to be downgraded for the Quest 2. It would make sense, I think, for them to. I don't know. I think it still be maybe cross-platform. Probably.
Yeah, I'm with you actually, Steve. I agree. I think they will probably release it still with the PC platform, but I think the delays and why it's taking so long is because they are trying to get it on the Quest as well.
Yeah.
Oh, that would make sense. That would be great if it came out on both platforms. Yeah, why not? I would be with you guys. If it came out on both, that would be perfect. Yeah, right. Okay, so now let's talk about the next topic. And the topic is App Lab. We have talked about this on the show before. So that is basically Facebook taking back control, right? So SideQuest is still there right now, but actually SideQuest is not that alternative store anymore. It's more like of a directory where you can find games and apps that have not been admitted to the official store. So that's good for developers since they can still get their content onto the platform without having people to do these kind of sideloading things like developer accounts. So getting the friction out of the way is great. And for Facebook, it makes sense since they can still enforce their terms and conditions, because all the stuff that goes into App Lab, of course, still has to adhere to the Facebook terms and conditions. Now, this story here on Upload VR is all about Guy Godin, the developer of Virtual Desktop. We had him here on the show in the second episode, I think even, and we were talking about Virtual Desktop. Of course, Virtual Desktop is the app that allows you to see your screen, your PC screen in VR, but the most important function for lots of people is actually it allows them to stream PC VR and Steam VR games directly onto the Quest and Quest 2. Now, unfortunately, Facebook did not allow virtual desktop to have this functionality in the store version. So that's why Guy Godin put it out into the SideQuest version, and you had to sideload that function onto your virtual desktop. So right now there's App Lab, and actually, of course, Guy Godin is trying to submit this virtual desktop version into the App Lab, but unfortunately, it is under review since a couple of days already. And your app is being evaluated by our review team. So he is not sure if actually Facebook is going to allow him to put the virtual desktop version that allows people to use PCVR wirelessly, if they allow him to put this into the App Lab, or if people still need to use the sideloading version. Yep. Now I would like to ask you, Stephen Gary, what do you think? Will Facebook allow Guy Godin to put the virtual desktop with that function of streaming games wirelessly to the Quest onto the App Lab? What do you think?
No, I don't.
Okay, tell us why.
I hope they will, and it's still up in the air. I think if they were going to allow it, I don't know why they wouldn't have just allowed it straight away. They're going through this long process, and this is Guy Godin says in this tweet. He says the feature is used by more than 40,000 people every day and adds lots of value to the Quest platform. And he's left hanging there, waiting for this to be approved in the App Lab, which seems like a no-brainer. And the reason, presumably, Oculus don't want to approve it straight away is because they've got their own systems going on behind the scenes to do the same thing, and that's why they don't want this alternative easy to because at the moment you have to sideload it on. It's more friction, as you say, Sebastian. So I can understand why they wouldn't want it. It seems to me like if they knew this was coming, they knew that as soon as they released App Lab, this, which is the number one download on SideQuest, would be the thing that they would want to approve, and yet they're dragging their heels on it. To me, it seems like they're not going to do it. I hope I'm wrong on that, by the way, because this is probably the number one feature I use on my Quest 2. I'm in my living room, and over here in my office, this is actually a garage at the end of my garden. So I can just stream PC VR into my living room, and it's absolutely fantastic. So it's the most use case I get from my Quest 2, in all honesty, on a daily basis. So I'm sure Oculus are working on their own official thing to do this, and they don't want to allow this. And if they can get away with not allowing it, then they won't. That's my opinion. But again, I hope I'm wrong.
I totally agree with Gary, actually. I mean, it's pretty obvious they're working on something behind the scenes, really. That's going to be more native, because they've quite clearly seen the power of this and the sort of, the success. I mean, wow, it makes sense that this is supported anyway, but this would be about bad news as well, I think, as well. I mean, I think they should get him on board, and even if, I don't know how long in the future this update, if ever going to happen, is going to come, but I know that in the PC world, when there was a Microsoft FSX, I think they called it, and it didn't have VR support, but there was a company called Fly Inside that actually brought in VR, and that was allowed to happen. And even though they were gonna, and it never actually had VR implemented. I think in this case it's a similar thing, where even though it's not natively not yet, I still think people, he should be given a chance to actually get his app on the platform for all he's done for the Quest platform, really.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Sorry, Sebastian, just very quickly on that point, because I agree. When he says in this tweet, like, it's adding value to the Quest platform, absolutely. There's got to be people that have purchased the Quest.
So many.
Solely for this
so many.
ability.
Absolutely, yeah. It's the least I can do, isn't it, really?
So many. I see it in my comments. Whenever I talk about this app, people say, I bought the Quest 2 because I am able to use PCVR wirelessly. So many. So Guy Godin with Virtual Desktop has given so much value to the platform. It's crazy. So I also totally agree with everything that you two said. I also actually don't think that Facebook is going to allow it, because why this long review process? They know the app. They know, they have the reasons why they didn't allow it in the first place. And I don't see any reasons why this should have changed. Now, honestly speaking, this app lab is a good thing in general. And it says like, okay, for apps that are not perfectly ready yet, for example, or I don't know, for all these kind of things, people can now put their apps and games into the app lab. And now that is such a reason. For example, because Facebook said, okay, they are worrying that people might not have the perfect experience with that. Their Wi-Fi networks might not be strong enough, and so on and so forth. So the experiences might vary, right? But that is exactly what this app lab is for, isn't it? It's for people to decide themselves. Do I want this? Yes or no? So in my opinion, it doesn't make sense that the review process is taking so long, and that they might even say no, we don't allow that in our app lab. And then in general, sorry, we're back here at the evil company where I believe that they simply have their agenda, they have their own app, and they're simply driving out any kind of competition. And that is not something new. We have seen that before. And I would like to remind the VR community here about Your Fitness, YUR. It's an app that was programmed by fantastic people. And this is an app where it would count your calories in the background when you play Beat Saber and so on and so forth. Amazing idea, right? Amazing idea. And then Facebook, they simply broke it. They didn't, it was working fine. And then Facebook made updates and they were breaking that software like 4 times. And then after they have completely broken it, they said like, hey, you know what, guys? We have an amazing app and it's called Oculus Move. And it's going to track your calories when you play Beat Saber on the Quest. And boom! So, competitor destroyed by using that market power that they have. And by the way, if the CEO of Your Fitness is watching this this podcast or listening to it, I would totally love to have you on this show to tell us your story about how Facebook simply kicked you out, right? Simply using their market power, kicked out competition in a really, really like nasty way. And that's not the only time that this happened, right? It's like happening all the time with Facebook. They are so big and they are ruthlessly killing competition. The newest thing now, Clubhouse. You've probably heard about this new app, right? Where you have this kind of audio conversations with other people. Facebook is copying it right now as we speak. So yeah, I don't like that. And honestly speaking, yeah, that's really something that we should watch. And in general, I would like to speak with the CEO of Your Fitness.
On that point as well, Sebastian, because they approached Guy Godin, Darshan of Big Screen as well. They've all got similar stories to that. Guy Godin has managed to find a way around this because of side quests, side loading primarily, in order to get around the restrictions. And that's why he survived for so long, brought so much value to this platform. I do want to just quickly address a comment from gaming science teacher in chat, where she said, I don't think virtual desktop is taking longer than others. They all have to be waiting approval and getting due to the enthusiastic response we're experiencing a high volume of submissions reply, which is a fair point. I will say that's a fair point. I think Oculus in this particular instance must have seen what was coming with virtual desktop, with it being in such high demand that this sort of is almost an exception to the floodgates that have been opened, in my opinion anyway. And I think that they could have seen this come in and said approved or denied immediately, but they're dragging their heels and they're trying to give themselves time to possibly like present this in a better light, perhaps. I don't know, but it's a fair point by Gaming Science Teacher, because I know that they do take a while for these things to get accepted onto App Lab, and that's why there's not that many there at the moment. Right,
but I do think they know of this particular app, and they should make an exception. I mean, they know exactly what they're doing here. I think they're just buying time with this under review. They're thinking about how to respond to that. They also know that they cannot simply piss off the community, and they are very smart about things. They are so smart about things. Also, the whole way how they are now killing side quests, right? They're doing it in a nice way, like embracing it, like they're working together with side quests, right? But actually, they are like actually having all the control. So I believe they are going to make this in a smart way. They're simply thinking how to do it, and of course, they want to have this functionality by themselves, which is also understandable. And yeah, I can simply hope that Guy Godin will keep on working on this, and yeah, that he can still sell his software. But I'm sure he has some other ideas as well, not just this. Yep, so that's something that we will keep watching. Guy Godin and virtual desktop on the App Lab. We're for sure going to find out more in the future. All right, we have some more small topics that we can talk about before we get to the Apple topic. Some small things that I would like to mention. So there's a company called Striker VR, and they have raised $4 million to bring haptic VR guns to consumers. And the Striker VR gun, it looks really, really cool. It does remind us a bit of the PSVR aim controller. It has like a trackpad on the front, and yeah, well, they've been making these guns for arcades actually. But now with that $4 million investment, they want to use these funds to move into the consumer VR space. Now, I believe this should be no problem for PC VR. Probably you could simply attach a Vive tracker for Steam VR games, right? But for the Oculus Quest, and they also want to bring this to the Oculus Quest, and also for the Windows Mixed Reality headsets, for all the inside-out tracked headsets, I do see a problem with that. For the tracking, of course, right? So probably you would have to attach your controller somehow to make that work, and we have to see how this pans out. They say the controller should be less than $500, and yeah, they're working on it right now. So, as we all know, we do have this kind of controller for the PlayStation VR, the PSVR aim controller, and it's really fantastic. It's so much fun to play games with the PSVR aim controller, and I think this is, of course, easier for a closed system like PlayStation VR, right? Makes sense. So I do see this a bit problematic to make it compatible with all the PC VR games. How about tracking? How about price point? What do you guys think about this?
It looks, I mean, for me, I would be interested in something like this because I'm a huge fan of first-person shooters in VR. But I don't really understand the price point. I get that the technology, it's a new sort of specialist thing, but the nuts and bolts of it, really, for me, maybe I'm missing the point here, but I just feel it could be cheaper than that, really. Like you could, like even for, I suppose it's the sensors, isn't it, and the haptic feedback situation. I mean, but you could actually make something like this at home with a 3D printer, and you can in the flight sim world, really. So, I mean, I don't know. I think they need to bring the price down a little bit for me personally, but it does look really, really cool.
Yeah, it does look cool, and the special thing about this device also should be that you can very much feel when you shoot, like you shoot and then you feel that. So that's probably something special. Is it something that would interest you, Gary?
Well, I did like the aim controller. I only really played Farpoint with it, honestly.
And Farpoint is so good.
Yeah, it is. It is really good. But I don't play a huge amount of first-person shooters in the car. I mean, I guess I'm just not in the market of this kind of device, really, like multiplayer shooters and that kind of stuff. I like the idea of it, and yeah, you're right. Maybe they'll have like an attachment for the Quest controllers and stuff like that, something where it sits on top. I can see that working. But it's how much is it? What did you say? I missed that
under $500. That's what they're aiming for.
Yeah, it's
could be could be $499. Yeah, I also believe this is going to be like a very high-end device. Probably it's amazing. I just hope that they can get the tracking right, that this attachment for the controllers, that it works well. Yeah, why not? Why not? There's enough space on the top where they could have some kind of cradle where you can simply put the controller in, and then probably it would be an amazing thing to use. Yeah, why not? But I also think it's going to be some high-end stuff. It's probably going to be too expensive for most.
It does look fantastic. It does.
Yeah, right.
I think I'm interested in the haptic feedback. I mean, is it just going to be a glorified controller in terms of how it feels, or is it really going to kick? You know, is it going to really feel good? Because if that is the case, then it is worth the money, because you'll be able to really feel that. You know. So
I think it's not necessarily like I dismissed the price, and I was wrong to do that because I'm not into the market for this. That's all it is. But it's like I think for the niche people that are into these kinds of games, the multiplayer kinds of games, and that really want that kind of experience. Because I'm into Elite Dangerous, and I can sort of envision myself buying one of these things, these haptic things for your seat where you feel the rumble and that kind of stuff. Yeah, butt kicker. That's
butt
it.
kicker.
Yeah. They're really expensive, and I'm thinking, you know, could I get one of those to enhance the experience? So that's my kind of thing. The butt kicker. Not so much.
It's a hilarious name. Yeah. Actually, you're totally right there, Gary. Even though I've just moaned about the price, I'm sat here with bloody yokes and pedals and goodness knows what that are £200 or £300 each. So I guess if you're really that into first-person shooters, then really it's worth every penny, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
If you're going to get that real, you know, experience, immersion.
Agreed. For some people, it will be totally worth it if this can make their first-person experience amazing, right? If you can really feel like whenever you shoot, could be amazing. How expensive is the butt kicker?
I think I looked at it recently, but it was something like £250.
It's expensive, yeah.
Okay.
It's too much really for like a
bit of vibration.
Yeah. You're getting your butt kicked for $250. Yeah, you can get it much cheaper. You just marry it.
If I had £1 for every time someone said I should get one on the channel, God, I'd be rich by now. But I don't know. For me, again, that doesn't really interest me too much.
Okay.
But I can again see why people would buy it. You know, just for that extra immersion, because that's what we're trying to do here, isn't it? And
of course.
Any way we can just get closer to the experience, you know.
We love immersion. We absolutely love immersion. All right, we have another small topic, and it's about a new app. And the app is called Realworld, the world at your fingertips. And what it actually is, it is Google Earth VR clone. But it's based not on Google Maps, but on Bing Maps. I don't know if anybody's using that. It seems like most people use Google Maps. But however, if you look at the trailer, and I'm going to show you the trailer right now, it looks really good. It looks absolutely amazing. Let me make that a bit bigger here. So what it looks like, it simply looks like Google Earth, but multiplayer. So you can play this on Quest, by the way, of course, Quest, yeah. And as a side note, also on PC VR. But here, here also, actually, they're using finger tracking to manipulate the map, the Bing maps. And as you can tell here in that trailer, you can zoom around New York City just like in Google Earth. You can make it bigger. You can go to street level even if the map allows for that, if they have the data. You can mark things on the map together with your friends, check it out together, cool places. Wow, right? Isn't it? I think that's amazing. I want that app. How do you feel about that?
A lot of people, I always remember like when Google Earth VR first came out and how that was received. And it's a great application, Google Earth VR. And people who subsequently got the Quest, the original Quest, they were saying, can I get hold of Google Earth VR?
Exactly.
A lot of people were talking about that.
Exactly.
And there's no way of doing it. This is sort of a way of doing it, a close way of doing it. And it's got multiplayer. You can do lots of stuff in this. I'm really on board with this. And the other thing is the hand tracking. Perfect. I'm a big believer in hand tracking because whenever I've tried it, I've not had some of the problems that I hear other people seem to have with it. And I liked many of the experiences that I've tried with it, but there's not anything of like a huge amount of substance with the hand tracking. So something like this where you can go in with other people and just explore different places and do various things. So it's got like this thing where you can do drawings and stuff like that and do markings on certain places. Fantastic. I don't know how much I'd use it, but I think I really like the idea. I love Google Earth, so why not this on
Gary,
the Quest as well?
You've already got Bing Maps in VR with Microsoft Flight Simulator, so you don't need this.
True.
You are using it actually.
And Paradise Decay, he's got the good point there. And I mean, really, but looking at that trailer, because that's the first I've heard of it. But in terms of the VR implementation, and with the finger tracking, it looks fantastic. Even just for that point of view, to be able to do that with a friend and just to mess around, looks really cool actually. Just as a bit of a mess around. But I don't know in terms of its longevity or its sort of staying power, depending on how much it is. Really, I don't think I'd use it loads, but it'd be great fun to mess around with it.
It might be one of those. Sorry, Steve, to interrupt. It might be one of those things like Google Earth. Like I went into that initially, and I didn't use it again for like weeks. And then you find I want to go back in and explore somewhere else. I guess it's like Microsoft Flight Simulator again, like you said.
It is really, yeah. I can imagine it being addictive, really.
I think it could be addictive, and I'm also thinking about reaching like new people for VR. Like for this thing, I can see my mom being completely fascinated that she can check out some other place like New York City where we don't have the chance to go right now, especially now during the pandemic, right? Check out some beautiful places, probably even together with me. I'm also in VR, right? So yeah, I can totally see how this would be a fantastic app for the Quest, especially because the Quest doesn't have Google Earth VR, and Google Earth VR is just so good, right? So yeah, making Google Earth more accessible here with Realworld, it seems like a complete winner to me. And that you can even check things out together with another person. I don't know how many people actually could use this together. Wow. Absolutely amazing. And I'm looking forward to that.
Sorry, Seb. I just think the only other thing is Bing Maps doesn't have the coverage of photogrammetry as well as Google Maps. And that's one thing that I was for Microsoft Flight Simulator, it's absolutely beautiful. In fact, someone said in the comments just now how beautiful it is, and I totally agree. But I must admit, it is lacking in some areas of the sort of 3D scan buildings and stuff. So, Google Maps would have the edge there in terms of the data. But I mean, it's, I'm just being picky, really. But I'm sure.
Then, like with Microsoft Flight Simulator as well, surely, I mean, they could sort of incorporate that data that they're collecting for that game. It could be like a circular sort of process, really. They've got to get this data to make the game better, so they might as well incorporate it into Bing Maps as well. So it could, work really well with this kind of stuff. And I hope it gets a lot better than it is. And we're seeing all of these updates. I think there's an update coming next week, Steve, for Microsoft.
It's the UK actually. It's the UK. Yeah. So we're going to get 4 or 5 brand new photogrammic cities, obviously London, and I think one of them is Oxford, funny enough, and a couple of other ones. The ortho imagery is going to be sort of like between 25 and 50 centimeters per pixel, which is just insane. It's going to be really, really, like, you're going to be able to see where maybe that's a bad thing, but where your car was parked or whatever, or your garden, or it's going to be so clear. So yeah, I mean, it's like you say, the data is getting better. So I suppose this app,
might feed into this as well. So hopefully. But it's I mean, they in this trailer, I'm just watching it, and it does look really.
It does look very cool. How much is it going to be? Did you mention?
No idea. But if you want to check it out right now, you can do so. You can join the beta. So it's on their website. I'm going to post the link to their website into the description of this video, so you can simply join the beta and help them actually make this happen. Yeah, but I'm really, really, really rooting for them, and I'm looking forward for that to come out as soon as possible. Yeah, cool. Realworld coming out for the Quest, but also for the PC VR headsets.
It's funny, if you'd have seen this 10 years ago, you'd be like, no way.
Yeah, no way.
Possible?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Now look at it. It's like,
it's going to happen soon. Exactly. So the studio behind the app says it's building Realworld with the Quest as primary platform, but support for PC VR. So that's what I was just mentioning before, right? That like this shift, that everything is going to be on Quest first, and then perhaps on PC VR later. Yeah, all right, cool. So now we have like one topic left here for our show today, and that topic is the Apple VR headset that is supposed to come out next year already. So we've been talking about the headset in last show, and yeah, neither Gary nor Steve were there, so it's great. I can ask you what your opinion about it very soon. So, but first of all, I want to show you some new pictures. These renderings were made by Antonio de Rosa. So just that was important to mention. Also, today's thumbnail comes from these pictures. So Antonio de Rosa, very well done with the designs here. And these designs are based upon last week's article in The Information, because The Information did a drawing of the headset based on renders that they saw at Apple. And now, based on these drawings, this Antonio de Rosa has made some nicer pictures. And you are looking at these pictures here right now. It seems to be, it looks like very curved, looks like a ski mask, basically. Yeah, basically, it looks like a ski mask. Yeah, like if you would compare that to what's on the market right now, this looks more like a ski mask than a modern VR headset. And yeah, looks very cool. So let me simply reiterate again on last week's article. It's supposed to come out sometime next year. It's supposed to have 2 4K displays. It is supposed to have more than a dozen cameras. And those dozen cameras, the function is to have a fantastic pass-through, like color pass-through, in order to allow for AR applications to run on this. And also, hand tracking is built into this. Then for the 4K displays, of course, it's a very, very high resolution. 2 4K displays on, or was it 8K displays?
8K.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
8K, 2 8K displays. So a higher resolution than anything that we've seen so far in the VR headset space, and that is supposedly being made possible by eye tracking. So foveated rendering is being used here, according to the Information article. So only the area where you look at has to be rendered at full resolution, and the rest doesn't have to be rendered at full resolution. So it makes lots of sense, of course. And so that's why the 8K displays actually would be possible. The whole thing is supposedly will cost $3,000, and it's being marketed as something that could replace a HoloLens 2 for enterprise customers. So if enterprise customers are now using the HoloLens 2 for their work process, probably they could pick up an Apple VR headset which has the same AR functions like the HoloLens, but in a way better visual fidelity and also with a wider field of view. Well, that's my estimation. We haven't heard anything about it, but I believe it should have a bigger FOV than those 40 degrees of the HoloLens 2. So I would like to ask Gary and Steve, what do you think? Do you think it's feasible that this comes out next year? And do you also think it's feasible that it comes out with those specs and that it's actually more targeted towards enterprise rather than to us consumers?
Yeah, I'll just quickly, I don't have a lot to say on this really, because I'm just kind of just checking it out now really. But I do feel that, first of all, it's really ugly. I don't like the look of it at all. I don't know. It's weird, really, because I know that we strap screens to our face and everything. That's kind of what VR's about. But it looks like an actual phone strapped to your face, and I don't know. It's a little bit concerning. I don't like the look of it, really. It just looks a bit too, I don't know, like a phone. But I guess it doesn't matter. That's just my own personal opinion, really. But I think, like, looking at the field, there's a real good shot of the lenses. If that's, obviously this is not exactly official pictures. Right. Are these official?
No. This is just some design rendering.
I can't see the field of view being any more than, say, I don't know, 60, 70 degrees, really. I can't see it being very, very large, maybe a little bit more. But for me, I think this is the race now, isn't it, for making VR headsets smaller. And that is something that does excite me, because I think in a few years' time, we're going to laugh looking back, with these massive Pimax headsets and even the G2, and we're going to think, how big was that? In a few years' time, they're going to be so much smaller.
Of course,
that excites me.
We're going to laugh at the Quest 2. We're going to see. We're going to see us raving about how amazing the Quest 2 is. And it's going to be ridiculous.
Exactly. I just think that this is some of this technology. Obviously, that it's going to come at a price. This is going to move very quickly down to maybe even the Quest 3 or Quest 4, maybe. I'm not sure about the Quest 3, actually. I think I'll still... Do you think that'll be much smaller? It might be, but I can't see it being that much smaller if it's going to come out soon.
Probably a
bit. Next year.
Probably a bit small as well. They need to work on the form factor as well to make it more acceptable. There are these headsets which look more like sunglasses, like Huawei has the Huawei glasses, and they do look more like sunglasses, and it's going to be way more acceptable to wear something like this as compared to like the Pimax or the G2 or even the Quest 2. So yeah, I believe it's going to go into this direction. Gary, what do you think? I know that you are a big believer in augmented reality.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what do you think about this as some VR, AR thingy?
Well, yeah, on the one hand, I think it makes a lot of sense. I remember, I think we spoke about this a few weeks ago, where there was some initial rumours that came out before the sort of extra ones that came out that you discussed on last week's show. And when we were talking about it, to me, it seemed like it seemed madness that Apple would do this kind of stuff, but it seems like they are. And if it's purely targeted at enterprise, then I can be on board with that. The price tag of this is just ludicrous, but if it's enterprise, if it's to be believed, the price tag, then that's okay if it's an enterprise product and it's limited quantity and they want to get these things out there. I am a big believer in AR, and this is what a lot of companies try to do with AR as a first step is to have companies don't do this, but this is what they want to do, is like have a pass-through as a first step, because a pass-through video feed of AR is easier to synchronize with. It's like how you see it on your phone. The AR objects will be far more solid on your phone screen than if you were to have a transparent piece of glass like on the HoloLens, because they can synchronize the video and what you're seeing and this kind of stuff. So this seems like a good first step for AR and VR. The thing that I keep coming back to with this though is how if we to see these rumors and take them at face value, they are going to be bringing this out next year, which is a VR AR headset, and then the following year, if rumours are to be believed, they're going to be bringing out a proper pair of AR glasses with transparent lenses, full AR glasses. I don't understand that in 1 year, how they can get from one thing to another. I feel like we're missing a piece of what's going on, what their plan is with this, honestly, because to me, that doesn't make any sense still. But as a first step, compared to how I felt last time we spoke, Sebastian, regarding this, right, I do think it makes more sense to me now that this is purely enterprise. Well, not purely, but targeted at enterprise as a first step to this kind of thing, just to normalize it, I suppose, get it into the conscious of people. Even though most people won't buy it, they know that it's there, and it will normalize the technology. Perhaps that's this step.
I think that's a good point. Like Ziv. Like normalizing it. Also, if this came out for enterprise, I'm sure it would not only be enterprise. There would also be a lot of developers which pick that up in order to make cool content for this platform, because that obviously it's going to be another platform for Apple, just like the iPad apps and games, right? Like the iPhone games. So lots of developers would put this up and see this as the next big thing where they could probably make lots of money once this goes like mainstream, and probably in 2023. We don't know it exactly, right? And about the price point of $3,000. Actually, I don't even think it's so ludicrous if they sell this to enterprises. Think about it. The HoloLens, it's very expensive. It also costs like $4,000, the HoloLens 2. And also like the X-Tal, the VR headset, which is also for enterprises, right? Which also has 8K displays. It also costs like $5,000 even. And if Apple can pull this off with this form factor, which is like kind of sexy as compared to the Pimax and the X-Tal, wow, I believe they do have a winner And if I was a company and I would be looking, or I would already be using AR for my work processes, I'd rather have the Apple VR headset that can do perfect pass-through than giving people the HoloLens 2, which actually is still a bit clunky. It is okay, I have it here, but it's not so great.
Field of view is the big deal, isn't it, for this headset? Well, I
Right.
want to know what the field of view is, because I do think that, I mean, I don't know enough about this subject, to be honest, but I just feel like Apple are dipping their toes and seeing what kind of response they're going to get from this. Now, you know, sitting on the sidelines along with many other companies, and you know, releasing something this huge and with such a huge price tag, I still feel, because the VR community, we want the best, don't we? We will jump on this, and if the field of view is big enough and we can play games, I don't know, maybe I'll even buy one. I don't know, but you know, it's exciting. 8K per eye. I mean, there's a lot to like about it as well, I've got to say.
Oh, Steve, you're going to buy it.
Well, maybe not buy it, but I just pick for me. And the field of view is the big deal for me, really.
Okay.
And the fact there's actually no speakers on it, actually, or there's going to be, I don't know how that's
yeah, I mean, on these renders, I've got to say, like, the strap, because it's based on these drawings, I've got to say that strap is very much prototype, like, strap to me. That can't be, like, consumer level. But with the price, when I think about the price, and you're right, Sebastian, if it's targeted at enterprise, I agree with you. The price is not ludicrous. Part of what I was saying a few weeks ago regarding this, why I felt like the price was ludicrous, is because I see Apple as a consumer-focused company.
Right. Until now, you're right.
Do this kind
you're
of
right.
stuff.
You're right.
That's really what. But then again, you know, you think like the Mac Pro and stuff like that. You got these things that they don't sell very many of, but they're still there. So maybe this can rank alongside that. I don't know.
I can't see it being $3,000. Can really? I don't know. I just can't see it being that high.
Well, why not?
For Apple.
I can see it. They do have these super expensive desktop computers, right? Like the Mac Pro, or what are they called? It's like very expensive, and why not? Why not? If this can. If this is better, like their monitors, if this can give you this super high res, and it can give you that high res with 8K displays, that will make those normal displays obsolete, those normal screens. And if they can say, hey, you know what, just get this one, and wherever you go, you have incredible virtual displays at your disposal, which are better than the normal monitors. Why not? I can see that being sold at $3,000 in the very first beginning.
How great would it have been if this would have been released a year ago when this pandemic started, alongside the option to watch your favorite bands play live on a stage somewhere? You know, because that's something that I don't know. It seemed to have just died off a bit, and I don't understand. You know, sort of the live entertainment side of VR has always excited me, to be able to just sit on stage, you know, with I don't know, your favorite band or whatever, or just be really expert. And this is the kind of a device that you can sit in your living room and just watch all, you know, even a cinema or something.
This is exactly what Sebastian and Anthony said to me a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about this, and it won me over. Yeah, like sports events and live entertainment and that kind of stuff.
That's where I see this heading.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it could be used for that kind of stuff, and that's probably that's the kind of stuff that Apple would be interested in. To me, that's what makes sense for them.
And they did buy NextVR. Right?
Yeah.
NextVR is the company who made exactly these things, like VR broadcast of sporting events, of boxing, of NBA, of American football. And I know for sure for the UK and for Germany, it would work if they get the licenses, if they show the Premier League live, if you can watch Leicester FC, right? Or if you can watch my Borussia Dortmund, if I can watch it like as if I'm in the stadium. Yeah, the Germans are going to pay this kind of money to be able to see their football teams, just as if you were there. I think that is really the big draw that this could have for consumer side, even if it costs $1,500 in 2 years.
So long as you don't watch it in the pub with your friends, imagine that, with everyone with the VR goggles on.
Yeah, that's going to be the AR thing. That's going to happen. We're going to sit in the pub with AR glasses, and we're all watching these virtual screens. I'm pretty sure about that.
You just put your pass-through on when you want to go to the bar.
And you're right.
Yeah, great idea.
Yeah, right. Oh, this is going to be very exciting. And I'm still, of course, very excited about our XR future.
Someone Technoglitch just put in the chat as well. Where's the battery? Is it solar? This is the thing as well. See, this thing has supposedly got an M1 chip in it.
Yeah, exactly. What is going to power that, and how long is it going to be powered? That is really the big question. We don't know about it yet.
Yeah.
Wow. So, Gary, if this came out in next year for $2,999, and they would have made it possible to watch lots of bands, like cool bands in VR, and also like sporting events that you're interested in. Would you go and buy it?
No, I wouldn't for that price. No.
Okay.
But I'd be interested to try it, certainly.
Yeah, that's for sure.
It's not the kind of thing that I would purchase for that amount of money. I think really the index is probably my limit of like £1,000 is as far as I can see myself ever going for a HMD, and I'm not willing to just throw money at VR just because I have a very an interest in it or anything like that. And I think there's got to come a point where you just draw the line. Honestly, I know you will, Sebastian. You'll be buying.
I'll be camping in front of the Apple store, and you know what? I'm totally not this Apple guy. I'm like the Android PC guy. I don't have an iPhone, nothing. I don't like to pay overpriced things. But for this, yes. But how about Steve? What would make you pay £2,999 for this device? What should it be able to do?
Well, I mean, I'm totally with Gary on this one. I wouldn't buy it for that amount of money. I think my limit is around £1,000 for a VR headset. I think that's more than enough, really. But I don't know. I feel like we could be sitting here in another year's time talking about the same issues with Apple that we've talked about with Facebook, because they're also quite an aggressive. The way they do their marketing and their business, and there will be some exclusives with it. I can imagine it
being. That's for sure, of course.
Certain shows, certain events, and stuff like that exclusive to this VR headset. And but for me personally, I mean, the field of view, as I've mentioned, I just feel that's the big deal. I'm really and the foveated rendering. I want to see that on a PC headset this year, maybe, or next year. It's so important to have that. I think that's the next step. Even with the graphics card power that we have with all these 3080s and everything that's out now, we still need foveated rendering so badly that if it's got that and a nice wide field of view, and I could get a 50% discount on it, then I probably would buy it then.
You'll probably get it because you're on the show. So yeah, hopefully that's going to happen. Let's see.
What you were saying there, Steve, as well, like with Apple, because they're like the original walled garden, really, Apple. Right. So yeah, I get what you're saying there with that, and that's a good point to bring up, because as much as Apple's, I like Apple more as a company only because their business isn't built on the same foundation that Facebook's business is built on. That's really what it comes down to.
That's the point.
They're a product company, so that's why I like them more. But they're they're not a great company. They overprice things. There's no point denying that they do overprice these things. But yeah, Sebastian, what about you then? Go ahead.
Well, first of all, I want to say that I totally agree with you, Gary, that the company itself, Apple, is more sympathetic as compared to Facebook, simply because of their business model. It's not about collecting data. It's not about you are the product, right? And they sell your data for advertising. Their business model is about product, making an amazing product. And because their business model is so different, that's also why their prices must be so high. They cannot compete on pricing, right? Because they want to make an amazing product, and that's why the prices are so high. So honestly speaking, for me, that is understandable. I can get that their business model is different, and I prefer that. And even for me, I prefer to get a cheaper Android phone. I get it that the iPhone is expensive for these reasons, and to have that in VR, I would I can't even say it. I totally prefer an Apple VR headset as compared to that super cheap Facebook headset, but they're collecting all the data, where I look at in VR, everything is being analyzed and sold to the highest bidder. No. So I totally prefer Apple, and I'm totally going to root for them and I'm going to buy that for sure anyways. I'm going to get it no matter what's on that thing. And probably there will be some interesting apps already, since they have this AR kit, right? We talked about this before. There are already hundreds or probably even 1,000 apps that use AR kits that are already like made with this in mind, of course, right? They made AR kit not for us to hold our iPads in front of us. It's definitely already made with AR headsets in mind. So I believe that this thing is going to have perfect hand tracking. It's going to have these nice screens. It's going to make VR look unbelievable, even better than anything that's on the market. And lots of apps are already going to run on it. All these AR kit apps, which are probably going to be so interesting to check out finally, because I did not check out many of those. Okay, I'm holding my iPad in front of me things. I don't like this. But with this thing, so many apps that are already there. And then there's going to be fantastic apps coming to that thing, since developers will have their hands on a device and they will make something that we even cannot think of right now. I'm just thinking about this Realworld app that we just talked about. Think about that app in that 8K screen, perfect hand tracking, Apple app. Wow, it's going to blow our minds away. And then Apple did not buy Next VR for no reason, right? I believe that this must be one part of the content that's going to come out on this headset. And that is going to draw so many people in. I truly believe it. This is going to be great to have your live football or your live basketball or whatever, or like boxing events. I think boxing must be so cool to see that as if you're like standing next to the ring. So cool. So I'm excited about the Apple VR headset. I'm truly excited about the Apple VR headset. I think...
Do you think... Sorry, Seb. Do you think there'll be a store... that will actually, be with it, or they'll actually be working on something? They must be. I mean, it's Apple, isn't it?
Yeah, that's their business model for sure. They're not only selling the product, but also earning 30% on everything that's being sold on the store. And that's how it works. They're going to make a very exciting ecosystem, probably an ecosystem that finally can rival the Quest ecosystem, right? Because at the moment there is nothing. Nobody can compete with Oculus, with Facebook, because there is no other platform. This could be a beautiful platform. This could be the rival platform. So I totally root for them. Totally.
Yeah, it could be a platform. I still think that Apple will be going for a different kind of platform to the Quest. I think they're sort of positioning themselves completely different from the Quest anyway, right from the start, if these rumors are to be believed.
Right.
And the reason behind that as well, this is not a gaming device.
You're right.
First and foremost.
Exactly.
And this is lifestyle. This is what is going to be the iPhone replacement eventually. That's why iPhone isn't primarily gaming. It's sort of an afterthought with the iPhone. You can play games on it, and I believe that this will be the same thing. This is not. It's a lifestyle device, and it will be the App Store, which goes along with it, will replicate basically what we have on the iPhone. Quest is primarily gaming at the moment. Now, I don't expect Facebook to be that way forever. I expect them to sort of broaden what they do with that in terms of to expand out into lifestyle, based on what Mark Zuckerberg has said. Like in what's that book, The History of the Future, where they had all these emails where he says we missed out on mobile phones. We don't want to miss out on the next computing platform, which is this, and that's what's going to happen. So they are going to broaden their horizons into lifestyle. Apple are first and foremost lifestyle in my mind.
Totally agreed. Totally agreed.
I agree with that.
And even though like gaming is not the main thing for iPhones and iPads, still iOS is one of the biggest platforms for gaming, right? Right? Since it's like it's just casual, but they're making lots of money with games on that platform, and it's probably the most used gaming platform, even though it is not made for gamers in mind. So that's something to keep in mind, and I believe it's going to be the same on that platform. Totally agree with you, Gary. Probably it's not going to be the first platform for Half-Life Alyx 2, but it's going to have some cool games. Probably something like Beat Saber with your hands. They will come up with some cool things that we're going to love, probably, right? And I think it's good. It's good for VR. I can't wait for this to happen. I can wait for a real competitor for Facebook, as you know. Yeah, right. Okay, cool. Very nice. We've talked about lots of interesting things, even though they were not real topics today. So that was
Always much to
amazing.
talk about.
That was really good. Today, we didn't really have a poll or any kind of vote because there were simply no interesting topics to vote upon. But this is going to come back for sure in one of the next episodes. Yeah, so I really enjoyed it to talk with you, Steve and Gary. Hope you enjoyed it too.
Pleasure. Yeah.
Yeah,
pleasure.
absolutely.
This was episode 9. Episode 9 of the Next Dimension podcast. And for all of the people who are watching this right now, and again, I'm looking at you, Colin, please, if you have an iPad or if you have an iPhone, go and open the podcast app and find the Next Dimension podcast and give us a 5-star review so that more people can find this podcast. And this is going to really help us. So if you enjoy this podcast, if you would like to say thank you that we come out here every Saturday and talk about VR and AR for 2 hours, then this is the best way to say thank you. Also, of course, it would be amazing if you could give this video that you're watching right now, a thumbs up. There are far too few thumbs up here right now. So give it a thumbs up. And well, I would say that all of us are looking forward to see or hear you in the next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care.
All right. Yeah, this is now the little after show. Cool. Great to have you on again, Gary.
Yeah, it was good.
Was good, right?
I'll be honest, because we when we were just you sent me something through Twitter before, just about the news stories and that kind of stuff that we were going through, and there were smaller ones, but they were interesting nevertheless. But I thought, before you sent me that, I was thinking, what are we going to talk about this week? There's a few little bits and bobs, but as always, we fill nearly 2 hours anyway.
Yeah,
I can't believe it's been 2 hours. I'm thinking, how did that happen?
Yeah, but every week it's somehow the same. Yeah, it still feels great. It still feels like the time is going by so easily. And I mean, we are all excited about this topic, right? We are all like so passionate about it. So then, and then we all like each other. So it's just like it feels good to meet you and talk about these exciting things. And I'm so happy that so many people enjoy that. So thanks a lot, Felix Magnetics, to be here. Cyberdemon, Hard to Get, FX Node, Colin. You know what you have to do, right? Paces Justicia, Techno Glitch, RG. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for having been here with us. And hope you're all good. Steve, good to have you here as well, of course, again. How does it feel?
Absolutely. Yeah, really great. I mean, like Gary said, I don't really know what we were going to sort of touch upon in terms of subjects, but it's like getting together with my bandmates or something. You just talk about music or talk about VR.
Right.
If you're all into the same subject, we could literally go on for hours and hours.
Yeah, we could. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's so exciting, and I'm just so excited about where VR is going, particularly in terms of the enterprise market and for sort of the Quest 2 and everything in between. I think it's going to be an interesting how this plays out throughout the year and where we're going to be this time next year, what we're going to be talking about, what's going to be the biggest thing happening.
And you know what? That's also what I think is so amazing, that we're going to follow this. Right? We together, we're going to follow this in this podcast, and our viewers and listeners are going to follow this. Thank you, Felix Magnetics, for €5. Amazing. That's going to be my döner. I don't know if in the UK you also have this Turkish döner kebab. It's like
Funny enough, I had a kebab tonight.
Oh yeah, we that's the thing that we eat here in Germany. It's like that bread, and then you put like the meat inside, right? Awesome.
Yeah, it's very unhealthy, but
it's
very nice.
But it's very good. Yeah, that's what we eat here in Germany, by the way. It's not just about sausage. So it's amazing that we're going to follow how everything works out, and I believe it's going to be there's going to be a huge change, this paradigm shift, once we go away from our mobile phones to the AR headsets. And I truly believe it's going to happen. And it's going to be pretty exciting. We're going to follow it.
Absolutely. And I was just thinking as well, like when you look at how far back, like 2016, when consumer VR launched, it's been nearly 5 years now. And during that time, like that first 2016 year and that kind of stuff, it felt like things were moving fast and things were accelerating. But then it felt like there was a bit of a drop off. Now, to me, it feels like things are accelerating. And, you know, as much as we sort of, you know, bash Facebook now and again, I think in no small part it's due to the Oculus Quest 2 and the interest that's spurred as well.
Absolutely. Agreed.
But yeah, it's really exciting to see what other companies, because the one thing as well is that the Facebook, other companies are not going to want to let Facebook just dominate the market for too much longer. So I'm hoping like in the next couple of years, I can't wait to see what comes out.
Oh,
yeah, I think a lot of companies are watching, and as you say, the Quest 2 is going to spawn a whole new generation of ways of using VR, whether it is, you know, standalone or maybe even PC based. You never know.
Yeah, Steve, PC VR is not going to die at all. You know, I'm like the big believer in streaming. Yeah. So I believe we are now at an exciting time where it's going to be we're going to go into streaming these PC VR titles over the 5G network. At the moment, it's still a bit too early because we don't all have a great 5G connection. But once everyone has super stable 5G, that's the next thing is going to happen. And then we're not anymore like held back by mobile chips like in the Quest 3 or something. Everything's going to be streamed into our headsets. And then basically everyone has PC VR quality. That's what I believe. So right now it's mobile, but later no.
Yep. And that's when we'll get like the true form facts for these glasses and that kind of stuff. I think that's when it's going to happen. But yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I still think it's many years away, but we'll see.
We'll see. We'll follow it in this podcast. All right. Thank you so much, guys, for still watching our little after show. And yeah, what can I say? We're looking forward to see you guys in the next episode. Until then, bye-bye.